BMW has facelifted the 3 Series, and I'm a little bit stunned here because I think this is the first time BMW has actually made an improvement on the previous model for a very long time. And before I show you exactly why I think that is, I want to hear your opinion before I share mine. Drop it down in the comments below. Which one do you prefer of these two, the facelifted version down here or the pre-facelift up here? So let's have a look at what's actually going on here. For the spec in tech, there's nothing new. It's the same engines and drivetrains as previously, but there are some changes to the design, which I am really happy about. So let's have a look at this. This is the pre-facelift, and this down here is the new 2023 facelifted 3 Series. There are some subtle changes. First of all, let me tell you this. I was never really a fan of this 3 Series up here because I think there's just way too much stuff going on here. For example, we have the headlights going in one angle right like this and then going in here, and then having these cuts in them, which I know is a kind of throwback to the E46, for example, that had those halo lights going down like this. Another thing that I wasn't a fan of is this graphic right here. So this T graphics, it looks kind of weird. It looks so out of place, and it doesn't have any connection to any other type of graphics. It's a completely different element, for example, than the headlights or the grille right here. It doesn't look like it's supposed to be on this car, if that makes sense. So that was something that I wasn't really sure of when this 3 Series came out. And lastly, we have the kind of the graphics inside of the grille here, for example, and compare this to the graphics that we have inside of the lower air intake. It's completely different. So we have lines in the bottom right here. We have, as you can see, 6 lines going here, and here we have lines going vertically, and they're also in a different style. So let's have a look at what they did here to the new 3 Series. Just looking at them like this, I really think that when I see it, compare them like these, the new 3 Series looks really cleaned up compared to the pre-facelifted version, even though there aren't really a lot of changes here. The big change are, I would say, the headlights right here, which got a lot cleaner than they used to be. We don't have the dip right here in the middle anymore. Instead, we have a solid framing of the headlights. I think this looks a lot better as well because we have a new grille style here, and this trim on the grille. I always preferred, in 99% of the cases, I always prefer the grille and the trim being blacked out like we have right here, and like Tesla did in 2021, I think, across the entire lineup. Instead of having chrome around the windows and the grille, for example, they turned everything into matte black, which looks so much better, and that is the case right here as well. In my opinion, I think this looks great. But the biggest improvement here in the front end, I think, happens in this lower corners. Just look at these new graphics that we have and compare it to this weird T shape that we have right here. This looks a lot cleaner and also has some connection to the grille or the lower intake right here, which also got bigger, as you can see, a lot bigger than we have in the pre-facelift. But it also now connects with this line going here into the corner of that graphic feature, which I think makes it more a continuous front end. It just simply looks better, this L shape that we have now instead of the T shape. Overall, I think they basically just cleaned it up. We're gonna have a look at the side view and the rear here as well. I think the rear is a little bit of a different story compared to the front end. We're gonna have a look at that in just a second. You can still see that we have the grille being a different mesh from the lower part right here. What I wish they would do in this section is to have this mesh be smaller and not have the holes or these hexagonal shapes, have them be so large. I want to shrink it down so it becomes almost like a mosquito net or something like that, maybe a little bigger than that, but you get what I'm saying. So overall front view, I think they did a good job. It can still be improved. I mean, there are still things that I'm a little bit confused about. I might do a redesign on this on the Sketch Monkey channel later on. But let's have a look quickly at the side view. There's not really a lot to say here because they didn't facelift the side. They actually facelifted the rear here though, which we're gonna have a look at in just a second. But what I'm a little bit confused about when it comes to this generation 3 Series is one little detail and one little line that I don't understand why they put it there, and that is this line right here, this angle in the body itself. It kind of stamped in there, as you can see more clearly here. I don't understand why they put it there and why they put it in this angle. because it kind of clashes now. It clashed before with this front graphics. They're pointing in this direction and then this angle pointing in this direction away from the front axle. It kind of creates a bit of a weak area around the front axle there. I would love to have them either be in the same kind of angle. So if we were to have this angle right here, I want to have it something like this, like we have, I think, on the previous 7 series, to kind of connect better with this and create a forward motion, because now both of these are pointing forward. But that's just a small detail that I wanted to point out. But looking at it, I like the lines of this. I like it a lot better than we have in the M4, for example. We have a sharp shoulder line going across these both models right here, as you can see, and it just looks pretty clean to me. It's a clean looking 3 Series. And they didn't, I'm really thankful that they didn't, first of all, going back to the front view, they didn't, slap a massive grille on here. And in addition, they didn't put the headlights down in the bumper like we see on so many other cars, the new 7 Series, for example. They kept this, by BMW standards, I would say, pretty traditional. So let's, last but not least, actually, we're going to have a look at the interior as well, because we really need to talk about the interior. So let's have a look at the rear view here. We have the T-shapes right here, just like we have in the front view of the pre-facelift, which I think they, not sure if they cleaned it up. I'm not sure why they made such a beautiful rear end here all the way. Look at this chamfer right here with the BMW logo, and then it goes into these L-shaped beautiful taillights, going into this little chamfer down here, into a nice bumper. And then what happened down here? Why did they have to go and add all these kind of geometries into this design when you have such a clean two-thirds of this height is super clean up down to this point, and then you go down to the lower part and it gets all kinds of BMW weirdness going on there. So I guess they had to implement some of that, product design weird graphic features that we're used to seeing in BMWs these days. You just had to add a little sprinkle of that, and that happened back here, I would say. Not so sure about this cut in to the bumper like this. It makes it look hollow, and it makes it look weak, in my opinion. I would rather have just something like this and something like this. We can still have this upswing in the middle because it has a cool looking diffuser down here. But this thing right here, I would cancel that and fill that out with just a proper bumper and keep it simple. But here we can see the dual shoulder lines as well. We have this one going down here, fades, and then the other one going all the way to the front headlights. So now last, but definitely not least, we're gonna have a look at the interior. And this is, I would say, the biggest letdown, and this is an interior that I would definitely prefer the pre-facelift. And if you watched my videos before, I think you're gonna know why I prefer this interior over this one, the facelifted one. The reason being, just look at these. Let's compare these two just like this, and let's have a look at these. And which one would you like to jump in and drive? To me, it's obvious that I would jump in right here and sit right in front of this steering wheel instead of this one right here, because this feels more cozy. The reason why this feels more cozy is because we have a nice housing of the fully digital gauge cluster, which I don't mind at all. What I do mind is that BMW slapped this big curved iPad onto the dash of the 3 Series and made it so clinical and less automotive designy and more product designy by doing that. And that's what everybody is doing right now. You can still have a separation between the two and still have a cozy, nice little house for the gauge cluster like we have right here. It feels more welcoming and it feels more homey, more cozy when you have like that, instead of having everything be digital and just there is no framing for the screens, and it feels kind of cold that way, if that makes sense. This feels more personal, and it feels like someone actually took the time to sculpt and design the housing for the interior. While it's still a good looking interior, it still feels it got colder with this facelift. But that's just my opinion. Let me know what you think about the new 3 Series. I really want to hear which one you prefer. Do you think they actually made an improvement here for the new 3 Series, or did they do their BMW-ness on the 3 Series as well? Let me know down below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.